man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. Russ Johns. Russ, are you on with us?
Hello, Mr. John.
David?
Yes.
How are you today?
Very good. Very good. Bryan Kiser, just starting off with a question here to get you started, Mr. Johns, on how you can share your business and technology knowledge with our audience.
You bet.
Russ.
Go ahead, Bryan.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just going to say, you and I know each other real well, but I know the listeners and the world doesn't know you as well as I do, so tell us a little bit about who you are and your journey to get where you are.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, both you guys. You're a gentleman and a scholar, and you know what you were saying in the first episode about connecting and sharing your message is absolutely key to anybody's business and actually relationships in general. And more now than any other time in history, we have this opportunity where communications and technology have merged to a point where it's much easier to, get the message out and engage what you're doing and how you're doing it. You know, I was a musician. I grew up a musician and traveled internationally. And in 1987, I took a 36-foot fall off a billboard. That was the beginning of my advertising business. And I came to be in technology as a result of that. And I've been in technology since the early 90s. And so, I've seen a lot of change, a lot of evolution, and having the musical background, I've always been a fan of audio and audio creation and the ability to create these audio files that share. And now what I've focused my attention on as a result of this activity and the accumulation of I call it the book of life. It's another chapter in my book of life. And so this chapter right now is taking the opportunity to help business owners share their gift, their message, and their voice with thousands of people. There's currently 1.5 billion smartphones available out there in the market today that are starving for content.
Wow.
The car manufacturers are installing opportunities to share this message as well.
I remember many, many years ago in school, they said when you look to the future, what you're going to see is you're going to see the acceleration of change like you've never seen before. And I think we are living in that age. Just got back from being out in California where Peter Diamandis, who's behind the X Factor, spoke. And he had a fascinating speech where he said, we went from kind of where we've been forever in Darwinism, that if you did what you did faster than someone else, you did what you did better than someone else, you had the skill and you got bigger than someone else, you were successful. But then we've quickly moved to the digital age, and he says now we're going to what he calls the intentional intelligence age, where essentially you can come up with an idea with technology today and put it out on podcasts or YouTube or other mediums, and you can have 1 billion customers if you've got the right idea for service or product out there. So, Mr. Johns, being at the forefront of podcasts, for someone like myself that is somewhat technology challenged, let's say, how would you advise our audience to get started or get involved in the world of podcasts or blogs and those sorts of things?
Well, that's a great question. And, there's still some technology challenges that have, that are in place. And you're doing exactly the right thing by hiring a professional. Tony Gambone and the Tough Talk Radio Network has been instrumental in so many people gaining their voice and understanding what it is.
So true.
And so there's also this element that, there's platforms out there that allow you to share your voice as quickly and immediately as fast as you can record a voicemail. And so, finding someone and discovering someone that can help you through just create the roadmap for you will get you started. And that's the I've been the guide for a lot of people to get their podcasts and their broadcasts, and I put out some free videos and help people. I've produced over 1,000 shows in Fort Bend relating to high school varsity sports, and so these tools are available, and unlocking that, it's like you see it at when you first purchase a car or anything new, it's okay, I need to find out where the controls are. I need to understand, the basics. I understand. There's just a little nuance about the things that you need to know. And, any platform, social platform, if you're able to operate any kind of any number of these platforms, you're able to get podcasting and broadcasting out there and share your voice in a different way. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I'm
how
happy
you can
to help.
kind of reduplicate yourself out there. It's great.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of podcasting and audio on demand, is the fact that if you have a message, David, that is something that you have to duplicate over and over again, a podcast is the perfect platform, or having a radio platform that you can actually share that voice with thousands of people or millions of people at a given point in time, and you can duplicate that and share it over and over again. It's evergreen. You don't have to recreate it every single time you have that conversation. So, these things are changing, they're evolving, and they're moving quickly, like you indicated. And grabbing a hold of that and having somebody as a guide is very useful in that trip, that travel.
Very true. It's good to have a partner that's a business coach.
Yes, it is. And Russ, there's one thing that I teased the Facebook audience with prior to the show, starting at about 7 o'clock this morning. So have to go ahead and ask you, because it's one of your trademark statements. Tell us how, in getting started, how you rent your brain out to entrepreneurs and small business owners so that they can come up with strategy, tactics, and ideas for making their first podcast.
Absolutely. Great question, Bryan. And as you know, because you know me, however not everybody knows me, is that my life experience, and, I talk about all of the different episodes that I've had, and I've had, a lot of different opportunities to learn about these technologies in different ways and different perspectives. And as a coach, I know that you understand this principle of being able to look at a business or looking at a business challenge from a new perspective, and then allowing yourself to help solve that challenge through a different lens. And my ability to rent my brain out is my years of experience in a number of different areas that can put a new perspective and a spin on that. And as it relates to audio on demand, I have a couple of offers. I'm building platforms, and I have coaching sessions for building your podcast or your broadcast. I actually have a done-for-you service where I essentially do everything for you, and you just speak into the microphone. And then I'm also in the process of developing a few other networks and distribution channels that people can get engaged with once they're launched. And so if you want to contact me, you want to get a hold of me, and you want to find out more, I'm available, russ@nextstepnext.com, and you can call and contact me at 832-713-7440 anytime, and I'm happy to at least dialogue with you to find out what makes sense for your business.
That's great.
Well,
you put yourself out there, and you help others, and that's what it's all about, and building those relationships, those bonds that last. Now, let me ask this question, because when it comes to blogs, I've heard kind of two different schools of thought. I've heard the school of thought that you pick a subject matter in your field, and part of the reason you're creating that blog out there for people to kind of comment and for you to exchange is to kind of have a chance to kind of share and show your expertise. And then I've heard others in a second school of thought that says that when they set out and they started a blog, that what they did is they just tried to make it fun. In other words, they tried to share cool photographs, cool jokes, cool stories, and they basically did not want to make it about their business, feeling that what they were out there doing is just trying to kind of be a honey magnet as far as attracting fun exchanges, and then they're building that bond, that rapport, that trust that then would lead to business. Do you have any particular of those schools, or maybe you say they're all, it's just up to the individual? What's your advice to the audience if they started a blog as to maybe some of the considerations that go into the focus of that blog?
That's a perfect question to ask at this point in time, David. Thanks for the lead in. And here's what I recommend, and here's what I share with my clients is, think of it, Pareto's principle is 80-20. 80% of what you're doing is building a relationship so you can have business with 20% of the individuals that you're working with. And as that principle is applied, what I recommend is that you have the opportunity to share incredibly valuable, it's either motivational, educational, inspirational, and you can actually place that in the social streams. You can actually share it with individuals in one-to-one basis, or you could share it on a blog talk radio or a podcast or audio on demand. And what you have to realize is at some point in time, if you have an audience that is responding to your message, you have to, as a servant of your business and somebody that's serving the public, people want to know how they can work with you. And if you're not taking 20% of that element out and suggesting or providing a valuable service to your audience, money is worthless unless it exchanges hands. People want to support your message. They want to support your business if that's something that they're interested in supporting. So build the engagement.
That sounds like the first solution that we discussed in the first of the show. Get a powerful message and an offer, an actual offer that attracts people to you.
Yeah, it's easier to attract and engage rather than chase and convince. There's
too many people chase and convince, man.
Well,
too many people running down the road with a sign. Hey, buy me.
No, so well stated. In other words, you give and you send it out there, and you throw out value, and you know what? It comes back to you when it comes back to you, how it comes back to you, and it's not always dollars and cents. Sometimes you build relationships that are built on intangibles. It's a mutual support kind of situation, or maybe they open doors for you to get into with other businesses and folks, and so that's great. So what I hear you saying, basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that, there's not just one way, or there's not just the perfect way to do a blog. Part of it is being out there and being fluid, and like you say, whether it's motivational, or it's educational, or it's inspirational, or it's entertaining, or some combination of all that, that's what you're trying to do, is put some value out there, maybe share some of your expertise, but more than anything, put yourself out there and have an powerful message.
Russ, wouldn't you agree that part of that putting yourself out there, getting your message out, is giving yourself permission to kind of be a dork, be a geek, be who you are, whatever people are going to see, and put yourself out on the line a little bit? Let people know you instead of just a product or some gizmo that you're chasing them down the street with?
Well, people see – that's a great point, Bryan. And the short story is that people that resonate with you and appreciate what you're doing will become customers. They'll be people that you do business with. And they're going to be an audience, and everybody has to accept it. There's going to be people that either don't need your service or are not in line with who you are, and being authentic is going to help, make that decision very clear. And so rather than spending your time on people that will never buy or not interested in doing business with you, I'd much rather spend my time with people that want to do business with me. So
let me ask about
it's
that.
simple as that.
As a technology consultant and a speaker, mentor, and trainer for business, as you put out in your bio, Mr. Johns, could you share with us a little more specifics on when you do engage with a business as a technology consultant or a speaker, mentor, and trainer for business, the kind of services you provide?
That's a great question, David. And the businesses that I support is the small, medium-sized businesses. I provide email marketing strategies and developing social support and podcasting. Those are the three primary areas. My background is in project management, so designing some workflow, identifying who your audience is, and who your customer and what the message needs to be for those customers is one area that I can really assist business owners in.
And for the benefit of our audience that may not be technology involved right now, but after this show maybe get technology involved, what exactly is a podcast?
A podcast is a audio-on-demand file that can actually be syndicated through automation and sent out on a regular basis and subscribed to by a device.
So, for example, the recording of this show, for example, could then be retrievable at a future date, sent out in different ways because it's permanently there to let folks listen in on what this show is about, whether or not they're here live with us today. Correct.
And the mechanism that allows a podcast to take place is RSS, and RSS is a way of saying really simple syndication, and so those files are, people that subscribe to your show can be notified that your show is available, and iTunes is the big dog on the block of podcasting and providing subscription-based services to audio-on-demand files that are available at a given time.
And then quickly on a blog, could you just break that down and, like you just did with podcasts, define that for our audience, what all's involved with a blog?
Well, putting a blog together is not necessarily tied to a podcast. However, you can actually take audio files. The premium platform that is most familiar to the public today is WordPress. So you can actually take that RSS feed and allow your blog to accept audio files, and then you can also drop video files, and then you can take your text file.
What I was getting at is many or almost everybody out there may know, but just in simple terms, what is a blog? If you were to start a blog, someone in our audience wanted to start a blog, what exactly is a blog?
A blog is an online container for any thoughts, ideas, subjects that you're passionate about. And there's a lot of different platforms that allow a blog to take place, but it's essentially you're just taking a log of your files and you're putting it online. And, Tumblr, WordPress, Blogger, there's a lot of these different platforms that you can actually, it's like journaling. Think of a journal. You sit down with your journal every morning and you write some notes and you share it. Blogging has taken place online the same way that people write.
Cool. So it's an electronic online journal that you share with the world.
Exactly.
Very good. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Well, I think we're almost ready for a commercial break, but our producer sent me a message, Mr. Tony Gambone, the legend of the Tough Talk Network. We are actually going to be up on iTunes after this show. We'll be able to upload to our iTunes page on iTunes, found at Legal Eagle and the Coach. So we're making great strides in our efforts with our Blog Talk radio show and our podcast here, and that message is growing and growing, and now it'll be up on the iTunes platform as well. So we're going to head into commercial break, and when we come back, more with the man, the myth, and the legend, Russ Johns and David Altenbern.